Shalom, shalom. Before I start, I want to give all honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Maha Wachachodash, Yahweh, which is the one and true name of the Heavenly Father, and Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and true name is Yahweh Shai. I like to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect, and shalom to you, sincere brothers scattered abroad, pushing forth this word in truth and sincerity. I am your brother Mashiach Razakah from the Servants of Yahweh Yahweh Shai Camp, Las Vegas, Nevada. And pretty much this lesson is going to be titled as Dreadlocks is a Heathen Custom. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. It is not an Israelite custom. And, the Lord put the spirit on me to do this lesson. I haven't did it in a long time. And, the Lord put the spirit on me to do it. So we're going to do this lesson. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. You see a lot of these guys claiming to be Israelites, but they have dreadlocks. All right, dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom. All right, and it's funny because a lot of these Israelites, these guys that's claiming to be Israel, claiming to be in the truth, they have dreadlocks. All right, and dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom, it's a heathen custom. They try to use the Nazarite bow, but a Nazarite bow is not dreadlocks. All right, the Nazarite bow was basically braids, and they always say they're trying to keep a Nazarite bow, but dirty ass dreads. All right, you can't even, when you have dreadlocks, you can't even wash your hair. When you wash your hair, you continually have dirt in your hair. You cannot clean dreadlocks. All right, you just constantly have dirt in your head. And before I came into this truth, I put myself out there. I used to have dreads. All right, and I know by experience. I let my hair get, when I had dreadlocks, I think my hair was like a year and 8 months. All right, and I had all that dirt in it due to all the buildup of products. I started out with beeswax, and I had dreadlocks, but I cut that shit off, man. Got rebuked by brothers, and that shit came off. All right, and we're going to edify those in this truth. All right, and if you're new in this truth and you got dreads, you need to cut them off because they're not an Israelite custom. And Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. This is, an article. It says, dreadlocks in history, Shiva, the goddess of good. All right, now, dreadlocks go back to the origin of the Elamites, which is in India. All right, it goes back to Shiva. All right, it says from ancient India, the goddess Shiva plays a pivotal role in cultural and religious traditions. Shiva is the destroyer of evil and the transformer. She is the supreme being who creates, protects, and transforms the universe. And when you look on the side of it right here, it says dreadlocks in history, Shiva, the goddess of God. And that's where dreadlocks come from, Shiva. All right, that's a heathen custom. All right, and they try to use and say Samson had dreadlocks, but Samson did not have dreads. He had braids, man. He had plaits. All right, he didn't have no damn dreads. It says, best of all, it is claimed that Shiva gets her power and her energy from her matted or dreaded hair. So let's read that again slowly for you bug outs out there, because this topic, when you do a lesson and you talk about it, it gets Jake offended. Look up the history. Let's read it slowly. It says, best of all, it is claimed that Shiva gets her power and her energy from her matted and dreaded hair. So dreadlocks, as you can see, this guy got dreads. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. It is not an Israelite custom. All right, it goes back to Shiva. It says dreadlocks from the gods. See, it says some of the earliest depiction of dreadlocks date back to India with the dreadlocked deity Shiva. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. All right, it's right here in your face. Dreadlocks from the gods. Some of the earliest depiction of dreadlocks date back to India with the dreadlocked deity Shiva. All right. And dreadlocks, again, is a heathen custom. It is not an Israelite custom. Dreadlocks is wicked. And if you're an Israelite that have dreads and you're claiming to be in the truth, you need to cut them bitches off, man. You need to cut them damn Medusa hairstyles off, man. Cut them off. Cut them snakes out, man. All right? Because dreadlocks is a heathen custom. It is not an Israelite custom. And when we say that, Jake want to use the Nazarite vow, but that's not what that scripture is talking about. We're going to get that out in a minute. Because they like to go to Numbers, the 6th chapter, and try to use that as a reason why they got dreads. But dreadlocks is a heathen custom. It's not an Israelite custom. All right? It says, in any artistic renditions of Shiva, she is shown with matted hair, very similar to dreadlocks. And if you don't know who Shiva is, go in Google, type in Shiva, and you'll see. Shiva is a false deity. All right? It's wicked. And if you got dreads, you wicked. You need to cut them dreads off because it's not an Israelite custom. It says, in innocent records, she is known as the one with matted hair. Shiva is also depicted wearing her locks free or round in a braid in a shell or like fashion, so that her hair resembles a carparta or a cowrie shell. It says the festival of Shiva in late February or March, late winter, just before the arrival or spring. The great festival of Shiva is celebrated. It is called the Masha Shivaratri, which means the great night Shiva. It says Masha Shivaratri or Shivaratri, however you say it, is a major Hindu festival which celebrates the overcoming darkness and ignorance in the life of each individual and world. So if you keep reading down, man, it goes into it. All right, Shiva. All right, it goes into dreadlocks and who it goes back to. It goes back to India, and it goes back to a false deity by the name of Shiva. So if you got dreads, man, you need to cut that shit. And we got some precepts because this is a big topic amongst Israel. They always want to debate and make a point, and we're going to read this, and we're going to get the etymology of the meaning of that word plat, and we get that word lock when we go into Judges 16 and 13. All right, going into Samson with Delilah, because they try to say Samson had dreads and he didn't have dreads. He had plaits, man. It's common sense. This is Numbers 6 and 1. It says, and this is what the Lord spake unto Moses. It says, Numbers 6 and 1. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord. All right. And that word separate, and we're going to get the meaning of that word separate, man. All right. Now, first, we're going to go into the meaning of a Nazarite, because Jake, they don't understand what a Nazarite is. All right. And that word Nazarite, it means consecrated. All right. It means to be separate. All right.
Strong's H 5139. Nazir.
And that word Nazarite, it means to be consecrated, to be separate. It says consecrated or devoted one, Nazarite, consecrated. See, separate. See, it goes into this. H 5144, separate. That's what Nazarite is. It means to be separate. All right. So you got a lot of Jakes that say, I'm keeping a Nazarite vow. Well, you can't keep a Nazarite vow. Not in this society. All right. You can't keep a Nazarite vow. Dreadlocks is not a Nazarite vow. All right. When you have a Nazarite vow, is basically growing your hair long in plaits. All right. Not dreads. All right. And it says, I'll read it from the top, Numbers 6 and 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when either man or female shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord. Verse 3, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink. So you can't, with a Nazarite vow, you can't drink any wine. You can't drink any wine. No wine. All right. No wine made of grapes. All right. So you can't eat anything of the vine with a Nazarite vow. You can't eat grapes, tomatoes, anything of the vine, and you can't drink wine. All right. So if you're keeping a Nazarite vow, I'm damn sure I know that you guys are drinking wine. All right. And you guys are freaking eating grapes and tomatoes. You can't eat anything of the vine with a Nazarite vow. It says he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink. So you can't drink anything, any alcohol, any heavy drink. You can't drink it. All right. It says, and shall drink no vinegar or wine. So you can't have any vinegar, any wine. It says, or vinegar of strong drink. Neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dry. So you can't eat raisins, tomatoes, grapes. You can't eat anything of the vine with a Nazarite vow. All right. It's hard to keep a Nazarite vow in this society. Verse 4, it says, all the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk. So you can't eat anything of the vine. I just said that. You can't eat anything of the vine with a Nazarite vow. All right. So you jakes out there that's saying you're keeping a Nazarite vow and you got dreads, you're going off, because dreads is a heathen custom. We just read that. So what is a Nazarite vow? Basically having long hair. Samson had long hair. He had plaits. All right. He had plaits, braids. You can't weave dreads. All right. But you can weave braids, plaits. All right. A braid forms a lock. A dread is different from a braid. It's two different things. All right. A dread is matted hair. All right. A braid forms a lock. That's why, have you heard of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? She had two braids. She didn't have dreads. She had two braids. If you look at Goldilocks and the Three Bears, all right, just an example. If you look up Goldilocks, she has two braids because her braid formed a lock. All right. A dread is matted. It's not a lock. All right. Verse 5, it says, all the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled in which his separation, in the which he separated himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy. It says, and shall let the locks of his head grow. All right. Now, when you go into the meaning of that word locks there, because a lot of people go into the meaning of that word locks. All right. It goes into para.
Strong's H 6545. Perra.
Look at that. Long. It says hair. Long hair. See? Of head or locks. Now, when you go into the meaning of that word lock, and we're going to go into the etymology real quick. Slacking. So, when you go into the meaning of the word locks, it says long hair. All right. And we're going to get the meaning when we get to Judges 16:13. We're going to go into Samson's locks as an example, which goes into that plait. All right. This is Numbers 6 and 5. It says all the days of the vows of a separation. It says, there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled in the which he separated himself unto the Lord. It says, he shall be holy and shall let the locks of his hair, shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. All right, now you got Jakes that'll read that and they'll say, see, it's talking about dreadlocks. It's not talking about dreads, man. It's talking about plaits, and we're going to prove it. Verse 6, it says, all the days that he separated himself unto the Lord, he shall come at no dead body. So, right, if you're keeping a Nazarite vow, you're not supposed to go to any funerals, or you can't be around any dead bodies. All right, so if you was to lose a relative, you couldn't go to the funeral. You can't go to the funeral. You can't be near any dead bodies. You can't eat anything of the vine, and you can't drink any strong drink, or drink vinegar, or anything like that. All right, verse 7, it says, he shall make himself unclean for his father, or for his mother, or for his brother, or for his sister when they die. So, right, I'm sure all you dudes that got so-called dreads, even if dreads was a Nazarite vow, which it isn't, you wouldn't be able to go to no funerals. You couldn't eat anything of the vine, all right? And you couldn't drink any strong drink. You couldn't drink any strong drink, no wine or nothing. All right, and I'm sure you guys are drinking wine, you're eating grapes, and you're eating raisins, and you're being around dead bodies. All right, so you can't keep a Nazarite vow, man. All right, it says for his body and for his sister when they die. All right, and the Nazarite vow is basically having long hair. That's why the elders of Apostle Great Millstone say not to have long hair. You're not supposed to have your hair going all the way past your shoulders. All right, because that's actually keeping a Nazarite vow, having long hair, you know, going past your shoulders. Not dreads, but going past your shoulders. You can't have long hair in general. Your hair can't get that long. Alright? You're not supposed to even have dreads. Dreads is a heathen custom, man. Verse 7, he shall not make himself unclean for his father, for his mother, for his brother, or for his sister when they die. It says because the consecration of his God is upon his head. It says, verse 8, all the days of his separation, he is holy unto the Lord. Right, so you couldn't be around no dead bodies, all right, if you was keeping a Nazarite vow. Because you got Jace that say that, I keep a Nazarite vow. No, you can't. You can't keep a Nazarite vow, all right? It's hard to keep a Nazarite vow in this society. Now, this is Judges 16, and we're going to go to the part where Samson said to Delilah. Alright, Jake's read this right here. See, Samson had dreads. He didn't have dreads. And we're going to prove it. This is Judges 16:13. And Delilah said unto Samson, hither thou too, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. It says, and he said unto her, if thou wavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. Now, Jake will read this and say, see, Samson had dreads. Samson didn't have 7 big-ass locks in his head, man. All right? He didn't have 7 big-ass dreadlocks in his head, man. He had 7 braids, man. He had plaits. And we're going to prove that. Now, when you go into the meaning of that word lock, right here, when you go to locks, see? It's malapa.
Strong's H4253. Machlafoth. Machlafoth.
See? Machlafoth, which means braid, lock, or plait. Alright? Plait. That's what Samson had. He had plaits. He didn't have no 7 big ass dreadlocks in his head, man. When you go into the etymology, a plait, it says gathered. Look at that. Gathered in pleats, double in narrow strips, weaved. Because you can't weave a dread. A dread is matted hair, man. But you can weave a lock. You can weave a braid, which forms a lock. Alright? So when you have plaits, those are locks. Because you can weave a braid, but you can't weave a dread. One dread itself is matted hair. It's not a lock. All right. A dread is just matted hair. It's not a lock. But a plait is a lock. So when it said he had 7 locks, it was talking about 7 braids. You can't weave a dread, man. You can weave a braid though, which forms a lock. And plait, see? Gathered in plaits, double in narrow strips, to braid, see, to braid or weave. And that's what you can do with a plait, which is a braid. You can't do that with a dread, man. A dread is matted hair. And we read that about when we went into where dreads originated from. It came from Shiva. Shiva had matted hair. Shiva is a false deity, had matted hair. It didn't say braided hair. It said matted hair. All right, and that's what a dread is. A dread is matted hair. All right, a plait is a braid which forms a lock. All right, and we're going to give give like a demonstration of some examples on what Samson hair looked like. All right. Now, when you go to plaits, and I'm going to show you right here. All right. This is what Samson had. All right. He had plaits, and this is a perfect example. All right. Samson had plaits. He had plaits. That's how his head looked. This is the best example. This is the best example that I can give, which is right here. He had 7 plaits, man. He had plaits. Here you go, right here, plaits. That's what Samson had. He had braids. He had plaits. All right. He didn't have no damn dreadlocks, man. This is perfect right here. He had plaits, man. Samson had plaits. All right. Braids, not no dreads. All right. So there you go, man. A dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom. All right. It's not an Israelite custom. If you got dreadlocks, cut it, man. All right. So we proved it. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. It is not an Israelite custom. All right. And we proved it. And I'm going to read over one more time, proving that dreadlocks is not a plait. It is not a lock. It's matted hair. It says dreadlocks from the gods. It says some of the earliest depiction of dreadlocks date back to India, because that's where dreadlocks go from. It goes back to India, which is Shiva. All right. It says with the dreadlocked deity Shiva. It says in many artistic redemptions of Shiva, she is shown with matted hair. It didn't say braided hair. It said matted hair, and that's what a dread is. Matted hair. It's not a lock. You can't braid dreads. I'm talking about a dread itself, because you got jakes that say, "Well, I can cornrow my dreads." Of course, but it's talking about your dread that you have. One dread in your hair. That's matted hair. You can't braid that. All right, but you can braid. Hair. You know, braid hair like cornrows or plaits. You can braid that. You can form a lock. But a dread is one dread itself is matted hair. All right. You can't braid one dread. You can't. But you can braid hair that's not matted. That's why you're supposed to comb your hair out. When you pick your hair out, you got dead hair that comes out. With dreadlocks, you got dead hair. Your whole entire, if you got dreadlocks, your whole hair is based off of dead hair that has not shedded out. That's filthy, man. That's wicked. It says matted hair, very similar to dreadlocks. See, it says in ancient records is shown as the one with matted hair. So there you go. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. It is not an Israelite custom, man. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. So if you got dreadlocks and you claiming to be in the truth, cut that off, man. Cut that hair off. All right. Grow a little afro. You know, that's it. Don't have dreadlocks. It's not an Israelite custom. So, hey, Lord willing, that's what's edifying. Till next time, I say shalom.